All right, guys, before I get into the intro, I need a little help out there in chat. Do you see Michelle? Do you see Michelle in the video? Please let us know, everybody. We're having some technical issues where she cannot see us. We can see her. So we kind of need to make sure that you guys can see her in the live stream. I am going to check right now myself. You should. Yeah, I do see you. So I'm assuming everybody else can see you, Michelle. I have no idea why you can't see us. I think it's a UK thing, guys. I think it's a UK thing. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's Wednesday Night Live show. Joining us tonight is Michelle Jones. Michelle has become a full-time editor at Ecigclick back in 2017, where she has covered such topics as THR, tobacco harm reduction, vaping advocacy news, as well as vape product reviews. Michelle is also a trustee for the NNA, the New Nicotine Alliance. You can find all of Michelle's links to her sites that she is associated with in the header, guys. They're all there. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. I wish I could see you, but...
I can promise you that us three are the most handsome men there you have ever seen in the United States of America.
I can tell from your voice.
I'm not going to argue with that appraisal. Not at all. I don't feel like it. Too tired anyway. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. I have no idea why that's doing any of that, but we'll as long as you can hear us, we can see you. It should be fine. And it looks like everybody in chat can see you as well in the live stream. So at this part of the show, we usually do our hellos and see how our weeks are going. And I need to change this order here. Let me change this so I do not get confused on the question segment. But Phil, how is your week going, buddy? Philip, sorry.
Philip's week is going very. I was actually going to put Philip, not Phil, but there's just people get confused. Too many things, and Phillip Kirschberg. Anyhow, my week is going very well. We have a new car in the family. It wasn't the greatest time to go out and shop for a new car, but we found one. Hybrid. I feel that the EV selection was a little limiting, and we're doing the best we can with what we need.
Yeah.
And let me see. Deirdre's birthday and I kind of they might as well be the same day every year. So we went out of town, went to the beach, we had a great time. And other than that, let me see. I'm just happy to be here.
I got to ask you, because I always ask this to people that have dealt with the dealership and bought a new car recently. Did you feel like you got robbed, or did you feel like you got a good deal?
John, I've done this a number of times in my life. I'm not going to give away any secrets, but let's just say I am light a candle and say a prayer for the salesperson at the dealership.
Yeah.
He's going to be all right.
All right. There you go.
It'll take a while.
Yeah.
No, perfect. We did very well. Everyone, it was a mutually beneficial transaction all the way around.
Nice. That's good. It's that, I always ask that question because everyone, they always bring up buyer's remorse. It's like a couple days down the road. Everyone seems to always, no matter if you felt like you got a good deal or not, you always have that buyer's remorse. Like, why did I do this? Did I pay too much? What happened? So I always ask people that question. I'll come back and ask you next week how you feel. How's that?
No, I mean, you can have buyer's remorse, but life is short, John. I mean,
That's
come
right.
on.
That's right.
I mean, eventually you grow old and die.
That's it. Michelle, how is your week going?
Well, it's been very busy, lots of work. I'm currently doing lots of interviews. I don't know if Allison's coming on. I've interviewed her this last week. I've interviewed Clive Bates.
Yep.
Who else? Martin Cullip. I've interviewed him. We've got some more Colin Mendelssohn, John Dunn coming up. So there's work coming out my eyeballs, but otherwise it's all good.
Nice. Yeah, you are very busy. I looked at your list and I was like, okay, she stays busy.
Yeah.
Charles, how's your week going, buddy? Charles, welcome back too.
Yeah, no, it's great to see you all again. Comment for Philip. Philip, you know that combustion engine car sales are decreasing.
Oh no.
This is a
Engine car sales are
hybrid.
decreasing, but sales of electric cars and hybrids are increasing. Just want to put that out there.
I love working with guys that know stats. Philip and Charles are stat guys.
Infrastructure wise, it was not viable at this point for us to invest in an EV, especially not an EV that would accommodate our needs. The best we could do was a rather expensive hybrid. And trust me when I tell you, we did the research, and we would have loved to have gone completely electric, but that's just not possible. Not in this part of the world, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah,
because you live in a developing country.
Let's just say we didn't buy a Chevy F-350, so we're doing better. So that's that.
My comment is based on the standard phrasing in from the harm reduction denialist narrative, right? Which is cigarette sales are decreasing, but e-cigarette sales are increasing. Anyway, so I hope that was obvious.
No, it was obvious.
Good day. And I just got off another interview, actually with Brent Stafford. And
nice.
He is tremendous as an interviewer. He really is.
Yeah, he is. And that was fun, actually. So all good. And on we go.
Yeah. Let me real quick. I'm going to go through the hellos in the chat. Hello, Pam. We got Peggy. Who else is in here? James R. I can't do it like Tim R. I can't do the pirate thing. Pam. Addie Tooney's out there. Jamie's out there. Let's see who else. I don't want to miss anybody. Michael Redfern is out there. Michael, James. I think I got everybody. And Dean is in the UK. Dean, we have a UK member with us joining us. Usually we start. This is like you said, you haven't done any live interviews, so I'm going to help you relax with some real simple questions, some fun questions we like to start our guests with, and the first one is really important.
We're fun people, though. We're fun.
Yeah,
you answer truthfully. We're fun people. We will understand. I promise.
Are you ready, Michelle?
Go on then.
All right. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No, I'm allergic to pineapple.
Yes.
Well, you win. Round one goes to Michelle.
Yes.
Well
Played. I think that's three in a row for us there for the non-pineapple on pizza people.
And I eat it.
Yeah. And our second question for you is, do you remember your first job you had, and did you quit or get fired?
I quit. I was working in a paper shop. I don't know what you call it, news agents, would you call it?
Yeah.
And I'd do a few hours there after school, and I was on a £1 an hour, which is really poxy. But at the time, it bought me cigarettes. So,
so you quit nicely. You didn't leave in a blaze of glory. You didn't scream. No. You just.
No, I left school and got a proper job then. So.
Yeah, perfect. Well, everyone, again, I want to let everybody know that all the links to everything that Michelle is associated with are in the header. So if you want to check out a little bit more about Michelle, you can find those links in the header. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Nicotine Alliance and how you got involved with that organization.
Well, basically, I've followed them a lot because I've been following THR for quite a while. I did one of the, the World Vapors Alliance. I did one of their academy courses, which is where I met Allison, which sort of stirred up a bit of wanting to do more advocacy. It sort of stirred something up in me. and I chatted to a few people, and it come back to me and said, would you be interested in joining the new Nicotine Alliance? So yeah, it went from there. I think it was April or May I became a trustee, and they're a lovely bunch of people, and they work very hard behind the scenes.
Nice. I am going to throw it to my man up there, Phillip. You're up, my brother.
Hello, everyone. Michelle, thank you for being here. Just a quick question for you. Do you have? Did you make your way to Ecigclick? I hope I'm saying that properly. The website, specifically as a journalist, is your background in journalism?
I'm really an engineer. I started out as a mechanical engineer on army vehicles.
Yep.
Then I went into a technical author role. I don't know if you know what JCBs are, like agricultural vehicles. I used to write service manuals and handbooks for those. And then I went into Ecigclick as a reviewer. So, because I'd got writing experience, I started reviewing the products. And then, sadly, I don't know if you knew our editor, Neil Humber. He died just over a year ago, and I stood in for him, and then I took on the editor's role from there then. So I started doing all the news and having to follow THR.
I'm terribly sorry. So you stepped in for the prior editor when he passed. Is that
He
correct?
passed.
Yeah.
That's a tough way to get a promotion. Wow. But just the same, what I've read of your interviews, you have some truly exceptional people on your list of that you're interviewing, and the one, I think it's Louisa Ross, is the one that I read recently. That's a fantastic piece, and she's an exceptional human being. So anyway, thank you for
Charles. And of course, our Charles did an interview with me. Bless him.
Yes, he did.
We all read that one. That was absolutely spectacular, and we'll let Charles speak a little bit more on that one. But anyway, thank you for being an engineer. I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah, I read that as well as when in your bio, and that is in the NNA section, and I was like, oh wow! And then to get into writing manuals, those are, man, I'm not generalizing, but those are the people I hate. They write those manuals so hard to understand.
Oh, I always imagined that I'd be reading them, so I used to try and write them in a way that wouldn't make me want to throw them across the room, because I know exactly what you mean. Any flat pack furniture, and you just want to bin the instructions, don't you?
The ones you hate, though, are the ones that were written originally in Chinese or South Korean or any Korean. And then just Google translated over to English, right?
And the ones that were Google, let's just say that the difference is not so subtle.
Yeah. All I know is I hate everyone at IKEA, whoever wrote a manual over there. I want to find all those people.
You should have spent a little more, John. You should have spent a little more.
Because you're holding the screw and it looks nothing like the diagram, and you're like, no, that's not A7, and you're looking for A7 and you can't find it because it's not in the package. I'm going to let Charles, you're up. You got a question for Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle, I just want to thank you because you did a great job. You had great questions. I was happy to answer all of that. I actually ended up saying a lot more personal things than I have ever said.
Oh.
And so for example, for the guys here who might not have seen that, the reason I started smoking, I was 31. So I'm really not a normal person, apparently. And it was because my heart was broken by a woman who said I was her soulmate, and I thought she was my soulmate. And I think there must have been something self-destructive in that, because my father used to smoke. So I had that, experience. So yeah, I started smoking really late.
Yeah.
And I said that, and I hardly ever told anyone that. Just for you, Michelle.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure as well chatting to you. And, I like to see people's personalities. I could just ask you a load of robot questions that are yes or no, but I like to know a bit about people and what makes them tick and what their journey is to what they're doing now.
Yeah, I love your format. I love your format. The way you have it broken down is really well done.
Thank
I've
you.
been doing this.
And I had never heard that one either. And I know Charles well enough to know that, you know, you were, your father passing was an enormous burden in your life. And it was something that, regardless of the relationship you had with him, it was very hard for you. And I don't know if how the two events, if they coincided or if you started smoking, you know, after that. But I guess the question is, your father passed. Were you smoking when your father passed, or did you start smoking after?
Yeah, I was. So I'm 61 years old now. So starting smoking at 31 means that's 30 years ago. And I smoked for about 20 years. My father passed about 12 years ago. And, but I do remember, like, when I was a kid, I used to hide his cigarettes and so on. His health declined a great deal in the last years of his life. He died of COPD, which I can't recommend to anybody unless you really want the last moments of your life to be spent in panic, gasping for breath. So yeah, but he was a gentle man, and when we were young children, he answered all my questions. This is a very kind of a key thing. He was pretty well educated, and I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
No, so that's a long time ago. But I don't know why. Why did I start at the age of 31? I had smoked a little bit when I was traveling. Like, I spent a month traveling through Mexico, and I spent 3 months traveling around Europe in my early 20s. And during those trips, I smoked because I thought it was cool. And, like, while you're waiting for the train or waiting for the bus, you know, just like, I'm so cool, and I have something to do while
fucking Hollywood, right? Fucking Hollywood.
Yeah, this is on brand. I think in our 20s and early 30s, when our hearts are broken, we are impressionable, very vulnerable people still, and we do all kinds of idiotic things to try and compensate for that feeling of, I don't know. I mean, we kind of lose a little bit of our self-confidence, so everything. And I think we've all done a little bit of that, just because we didn't know what else to do, because we were just, our self-images were kind of
interesting though, because if I had had a smartphone at the time, maybe I would have been on that instead of on
you're addicted to another,
my Gauloise or my drum tobacco or whatever.
Well, the journey has brought you here, and we're glad it did.
We got you. You've been writing for Ecigclick now for 6 years. Of all the articles you have written, is there one that stands out the most to you that you feel is one of your better pieces?
I've got to say, and I'm sorry if I get a bit teary on this, I actually interviewed Neil, the editor who died. He used to do all the interviews. And I said to him and Johnny, I said, it's about time you were interviewed, Neil. And I played with him a little bit. I said, right, you know, I'm going to lull you into a false sense of security, and I'm going to chuck some questions at you. And he just took it in so much fun. And we had some lovely photos of him with his dogs and when he was younger. And you know, that one brings a bit of a tear to my eye, actually, because we had so much fun. And of course, he's no longer with us. So
that must have been a tough one.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think people sometimes forget how emotional we get about this and how important it is to us. And I, like today, I just, I posted something on Twitter because it's something we all grew up hearing, from our parents or some other adult, that there's always two sides to every story, and it's important that you listen to both sides sometimes. But it seems like here lately, it's just one-sided. Everything is their side, and no one wants to really hear what we have to say, and it's frustrating. And even though our numbers keep growing year after year after year, you would feel that certain people would start coming to our side and maybe, you know, lend one ear, just one ear, listen for 5 minutes, you know, and try to get our side of it and understand what we're going through. And it's difficult because I think I said it last week. I think people have forgotten about the addiction part of it, of what we're going through and how we're dealing with it. And it should, do I think it should be, maybe I may be wrong here, but do I think it should be looked at like someone that has a cocaine addiction or a heroin addiction or any other addiction? Kinda, wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah.
No, I knew Charles was going to shake his head. No. Do you think
I know what you're saying. Do I agree with it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know they're two very different things, and they're two different things. I can go to the store and buy a pack of cigarettes and take care of that addiction. Where yes, it may be a little bit more difficult to go find some heroin on the street, but you know, you're still maybe not where you live, but out here in the country, yeah. But I have, you know, I don't know. I just feel like people have forgotten the addiction part of it more so.
You can avoid like cocaine and heroin. You can't avoid cigarettes, especially sort of 20 years ago. All my family smoked. Our house would be full of cigarette smoke, you know.
Yeah.
Now's not the time to go into it, but when I discovered that my youngest brother was deeply, passionately hooked on heroin, I thought to myself, this is not possible. People don't shoot up anymore. People don't use heroin anymore. This is, I mean, it was a moment from, you know, it was around the time that Train Spotting came out that I figured out that he was indeed shooting heroin. I thought, this is happening. And this obviously, it took me a few years. He passed away 13 years. The point is, I didn't have any idea that he was that far gone. And more importantly, it wasn't just him. There were a lot of people that I didn't even think of that were using heroin. So it's not as uncommon. It's really not isolated in any one socioeconomic demographic, anything. But at the same time, I wish I had known a bit. Well, if there was any one thing that he was unable to cope with, yes, it was his dependency, but it was also his inability to see past who he had been told he was, and that was a bad person. And I think we can do better.
Yeah. Well, you don't hear people tell heroin or opiate addiction people just cold turkey. You can do it. Cold turkey. You don't hear that. There are places to go to get help. And there are places to go to get other things to help them get through those addictions, where in our case, we have other things, but studies show that these things aren't effective. And here we do have something that is working, that is getting pushed away. And that's the part I don't understand. Everybody out there knows someone that's going to say the fucking patch didn't work, the gums didn't work, the reduced nicotine cigarettes didn't work. You know, there's always someone that you run into that's going to say that. But here's something, you know, how many people do you run into? And even in our inner circle, yeah, some of us took a little longer, but some of us, you know, myself, from day one, I vaped, I quit. I didn't touch a cigarette from day one. I just made that transition very smoothly. And there are some people that take 6 months, 7 months, a year to 2 years to finally, you know, stop being a dual user. It's just it blows me away that just listen to us, understand what we're saying, understand that we have an addiction, understand that flavors are important and why they're important. That to me seems, that message doesn't seem to get shared. So, but it's okay to have 5,000 flavors of fucking ice cream, but like Charles, that was perfect. Your post about obesity. I just like, no one ever brings that up. It's like, yeah, kids eat ice cream. I don't know how many kids like vanilla ice cream, but you know, I'm sure there's you know, could they do that one day? You never know. Phillip, you have a question?
I'm passing the gavel to Charles because
because
Go right ahead. I took it
smiling.
aside. I took it aside on the whole harm reduction bodily autonomy thing. So Charles, you are up, sir.
Good.
To ask Michelle. So Michelle, what are your projects? What projects are you working on now? What's like on your horizon?
It's mainly just the interviews is the big one. I call them THR superstars because I just feel that,
I love it.
yeah, there's people out here working their asses off who nobody really sees a lot of what they're doing. I mean, Charles, you'll know this. I'm sure all of you know this, that you might just see an odd article pop up or an odd Twitter post, but they're going to conventions and speaking there. They're chatting to, policymakers. They're sending letters backwards and forwards. I see this in the NNA. We have letters coming in and out, and we all have to make an agreement. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I just want people to just see that and see how hard people are working. That's my main project. And then there's just the day-to-day stuff, really, which is the news. I've got loads of reviews I'm in the middle of. So there's always a pile of vapes.
Yeah. Has any of your stuff been, I don't know the names of any of the newspapers there, but has any of your work been published in some of the newspapers?
No,
Do you
they're
think,
not interested in me. I don't think. I'm pretty small fry. I don't make enough noise, I don't think.
are you, I'm going to assume that you're not worried about making noise because you are. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if I get involved with anything media-wise, they twist things, so it could end up really backfiring on me, or they put wrong words out or wrong words out of context, and I just don't want to be in that position.
Right. Do
I
you
have
feel
tried to put out op-eds so many times to major media outlets. They have no interest. Even if literally everything I'm writing is easily fact checkable, and I include the hyperlinks to the CDC survey data, they don't want to hear it.
Doesn't fit with the agenda, does it?
No, it doesn't fit the current narrative, the standard narrative. So we're still dealing with like geocentrism, and the rest of us are like, no, actually, the Earth moves. But that's a really disturbing thing, because I sometimes say, okay, so with climate change, there's a debate, and 98% of scientists believe one thing, and 2% believe the other thing. And for a long time, the media gave kind of equal time to both sides. But in tobacco control, there really is a debate. And the so-called experts, the people who are in tobacco control, they actually disagree. I mean, it's I don't know what it is. It's 50-50. I've actually been talking to people like, could you do a survey of views at the SRNT meetings, Society for Research on Nicotine and Tobacco, and see whether that's changing over time. So you repeat it. Yeah, you could, but nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
But I would say, let's say it's 50-50, but the media only gives airtime and oxygen to one side. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird. 15 past presidents of the SRNT write this stunning peer-reviewed article where they say nicotine brain harms are speculative because there's no human evidence. Where they say e-cigarettes are safer, where they say the numbers of teens who are actually hooked or dependent, like not as high as you think. And it was a very thoughtful article, and they did a press release from the University of Michigan. They made videos on it where Ken Warner is speaking. Not one U.S. major media outlet carried any of that. And it's like, and they're contradicting everything that the American Cancer Society, the American Lung Association, the American Heart Association, that Pay for Tobacco-Free Kids, the Truth Initiative are saying daily, and not one. It's really, I don't know how many words to say, except that this is a really interesting field.
Yeah.
totally crazy field.
It makes no sense, to be honest with you. It makes no sense. That there's at least just give me. Would you even be happy if you saw at least one story a week? Just one positive story a week on any news outlet. I don't care if it's one of the major news outlets or just your local fucking TV news. It'd be nice just to have one positive story on there, or just a second opinion. Phillip has got something to say. I know. I could tell. No? All right.
After last week's show where we talked about ourselves, I'm good.
No, get back in there. One of the things that I've noticed
did you learn about Phillip?
he did a great job.
He talks too goddamn much. That's what.
No, but that was a different. That was a different type of show. You were supposed to share that information. That was so our viewers.
I've been using this GIF image from the movie Prometheus with a shocking frequency recently. It's a quote from a movie. Basically, he's playing the actor who says, "It's the trick, William Potter, is not minding that it hurts."
Yeah,
it's from an old. It's actually. James Mason who says it in the film. Anyway,
like
what I'm trying to tell you is you go over all the different ways in which the anti-harm reduction axis is represented in the media. It will drive you batty. You will lose your mind. And mine, I have no intention of losing my mind. So what I'm trying to do is look for, the articles that have just a tiny bit of balance and try and promote those. And some of these articles are literally from news outlets that just don't matter. And we should probably stop giving them an audience.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
Yeah. All right, Michelle, I have a question for you. One of the things that I have noticed over the last 8 years is seeing more vape advocates with higher medical degrees, kind of like Charles and Dr. Mendelsohn. Joining the fight. What do you feel is contributing to that factor? Why all of a sudden are we seeing these individuals step forward?
I think because of the innovation it is. I think people are starting to see the science, because it's only been the last sort of few years where there's been a lot of reviews into vaping, hasn't there? What's the word? Randomized controlled trials. There's been a lot more of those being conducted. So I think the medical profession are starting to see that there is some truth behind this, that there is a possibility to help health, and they want to stand up for that. I mean, a lot of I think Louisa Ross would be able to tell you about this. She's part of the organisation who train medical professionals about stop smoking clinics. And and a lot of their stuff is very, very positive to get the medical people all singing from the same hymn sheet, all giving the same message, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I love having them out there, because we finally have someone that's out there. Not to say that we're not doing a good job. I think a lot of individuals that have been involved in advocacy at the level like I am at, where yes, I don't understand a lot of the terminology and stuff that's being taught, the stats and statistics, but I have a goal. My goal is to keep vaping alive, keep flavors in the stores. But it's nice to have someone with a much higher degree in a medical field actually speaking for us and getting their voices out there, and hopefully that gets us an opportunity to be on a news show. I don't know what you want to, like 2020 or something like that, and be comfortable knowing we have the right person in that spot. I feel more comfortable today knowing there's guys like Charles and Phillip that are out there, Dr. Mendelsohn, people that I know. If a Fox reporter or an MNBC, and I don't even know all the names, they keep changing it, NBC, whoever, were to interview one of these guys, I know that they're going to say the right thing and not how do I put it? Not feel worried or out of place or say the wrong thing, I guess. Right, guys?
Can I say something here?
Yeah.
There is a line. I'm a Kurt Vonnegut fan. There's a line in his novel Cat's Cradle where one of the characters, he's a painter. He's painting a painting. And someone comes up behind him and says, "Oh, this is a fantastic painting. Are you self-taught? And he turns around and says, isn't everyone? So I have to emphasize, it doesn't matter how many letters you have after your name. It is everybody's self-taught. And what really impresses me is how many people in the tobacco harm reduction field are self-taught, have learned how to read scientific papers and understand not just the abstract but the data, to look even at the methods section, and so this is, I don't know, I think it's actually, there are a lot of people who should be given PhDs just for slogging through all of the scientific studies that they've actually looked through, and then realizing that how much junk science there is out there.
Yeah,
I can think of more than a few. That's a very good point.
You want to elaborate, Phillip?
Yeah.
I mean,
congratulate the community, because that's the thing.
I mean, how many studies is Phil on in his mega thread? His smoking COVID mega thread. What is he at? 8,400 studies now. I don't know if Phil, I don't know if Phil has a PhD or not. Let's just say if he doesn't, he should be awarded an honorary. And it's not. He's reading these and reporting the results. What few have complete results. What few actually report the number of people who are hospitalized, who smoked, et cetera, et cetera. And he's doing so in a very formal. He's not making judgments. He's reporting this, and he's showing that there is indeed a relationship between contracting COVID and people who smoke. I'm not going to say anything more about that, but let's just say I think that he could probably discuss this with anyone. MD, PhD, PsyD, I don't care. He would be able to have a very competent conversation with anyone.
Yeah.
And the impressive thing is he just took that on. He just started doing it. He just started collecting, study after study after study, and the evidence is so overwhelming that he's just a volunteer, as far as I know. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have an excuse. I mean, I took stats. I have a BS. At least I should know more than your average person. And you have people like Kilvori from Finland, who is literally just able to read all of these studies, truly like someone who is, let's just say, his knowledge of statistics and the data and his ability to translate.
You mean Juka?
Oh yes. Juka Kilvori.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm
Michelle,
not saying
you should
that
interview him.
Yeah.
I've been trying. He's fond of saying, if my Finnish inhibitions I should have overcome my Finnish inhibitions, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
No, he's a wonderful human being and a very, very intelligent person.
Yeah. What I was getting to is I feel like 10 years ago, no, not so much, but I feel like today, I think if they were to pick someone, even off the street, I would feel more comfortable with their opinion towards vaping or their knowledge about vaping and how safe it is than I would have been, say, even 5-6 years ago. Wouldn't you guys agree?
No.
No. You think it's different?
The average person is more and more misinformed. No?
Especially in the UK.
That's actually a good question for Michelle. You have the BBC saying that the 95% safer that has backfired. Where is this coming from? And more importantly, do you have an idea? Because Chris Snowden has been tweeting overtime recently. What's going on?
It is crazy. I mean, we've got the government throwing 100% back in vaping. They believe that's going to help us meet the smoke-free 2030. Then we've got a little pocket in Scotland, mainly Ash Scotland, hate vaping, hate disposables, and some of the politicians who want votes in Scotland are starting to turn that way. We're looking, there's possibly going to be a disposable vape ban in the UK. Scotland are well on the way to it. Ireland, I think, are going to be looking towards it. I did a study. I did 6 months worth of just the newspaper articles, just the mainstream newspaper articles, and I rated them as positive, negative, or neutral. Neutral, they gave a bit of a balance, or it was just facts. And they were overwhelmingly negative. All sorts of scare stories, my teen had one vape and ended up with a lung collapsed, and then that would be repeated over several different newspapers. They'd all have the same headline. I talk to people, oh yeah, them vapes are terrible, all the kids are on them. So it's the public support's dropping at the moment, which is a shame. Even though the government are quite positive, I can see things might turn.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your format that you go through doing your interviews. How did you come about that, or is something you put together yourself, or is that go back to your days of doing your your manuals?
It was basically, I based it on what because Neil did quite a few interviews. So I read through his and I just sort of updated it more for what's going on now. Because we like to know as well if people are vapors, I love knowing what people vape on, what their kit is, what their flavours are. So I added a bit of that into it as well. And yeah, just because it's just a bit more modern now, there's a few more different issues in different countries. So I've had to tailor it to that, because my interview for, say, Charles would be different to somebody in the UK, because I'd be asking them about what's happening here. So yeah, it just sort of grew, really.
Yeah, I like that you touch on the personal part right at the beginning and get their story. I love that part. And then it does get, like with Charles, it does get a little bit more scientific, and you got to pay attention to what you're reading. That's just me, Charles. That's me. But I really like your format, and it's really easy to read, and I really enjoy it. So I'm glad I actually found you from Charles' article. I saw Charles' article. I said, who's this? I went back. I saw it. I went back to our chat. I told the group, Tim, Philip, and Allison and Paul, who knows Michelle? And Allison quickly came back. It's like, I know her. I'll send her a message, because that's something. Yeah,
I know of Michelle. I just only knew it as Michelle. The Jones part is only come in the last 45 minutes.
Sure. Me too.
I'm usually known as Shell, to be honest. Everybody just calls me Shell.
I was about to say Shell.
Yeah.
If you like Shell, I love Shell.
Yeah. I thought you were like Cher and Madonna. You didn't have a last name. I even told Allison, I said, does this woman have a last name, or is she like Cher and Madonna? She doesn't have a last name.
I'm Beyonce Jones.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think because we always talk about sharing the personal story, and I like the fact that you get into that right at the beginning of the article, which I think helps draw in the reader to better understand who you're interviewing, and I really enjoy it. And I was glad that I
advocate, all of us advocates have got a story that's brought us to this point, whether it's our own personal story, one of our family, something's hit us hard that's made us stand up and made us be passionate about this. And I like knowing what that is.
Yeah.
I encourage anyone who's giving talks to start off with the question to the audience: how many of you have lost a loved one?
Yeah.
To smoking. It's like, gotta bring that home to people. And people of a certain age, like everybody has. Everyone. It could be one of your parents or your grandparents or aunt, uncle. It's just like incredible how much cigarettes have touched everybody's lives, and nobody really thinks about it. And these days, if you're educated and reasonably, middle class or more wealthy, you don't know anybody who smokes. So you just kind of think, that problem's solved. It's not.
No. Shoot, my ex-wife was a closet smoker for 5 years before my mom realized she smoked. And I'm like, and she would tell me, she would go, "Why can't you be like your wife? Look at her. No smoking. How does she deal with that?" And I'm thinking to myself, she's a pack and a half a day smoker too, man.
Yeah, and I think we need to think about how many people are now closet smokers, and would even say I'm a non-smoker on a survey.
Yeah,
kind of probably more than you might think.
Well, it's gotten to the point too where I'm willing to bet a lot of people even lie when they're at the doctor's office about checking that box. It's just,
because there's so much stigma.
Who can blame them?
Yeah. I come in. I would just one time say if I'm going in there to have my ankle checked, I just want to tell the doctor, look, my smoking has nothing to do with my ankle pain. Let's just deal with the ankle, and then we'll move on to the other things first. All right, I have a fun question for you, Michelle. Okay, this one should be interesting because you're over there in the UK. If you could remove one popular flavor that you totally dislike, which one would it be?
Mango.
Oh no!
Or grape and mango. Can I have two?
All right. Well,
Shell,
fair.
I just developed a profound respect for you, my lady. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, it just tastes like soil. It just tastes like eating soil to me, mango does. I love mango chutney. I could eat mango chutney.
That's
in my ears.
No, mango on its own is boring and extraordinarily it's not exceptional in any way. Peach, mango, watermelon, on the other hand, if you add something to it, you can make it palatable, but on its own, it sucks. It's terrible. It's really not worth it.
Yeah. I was wondering where she was going to go with that, with being with the UK. Because I always get the sense that, even here in the United States, we're kind of broken up into our flavor palettes, depending on what part of the United States you're in. I always wondered where it shifted there. And I always assumed that a majority of the UK vapors are more of your dessert flavors. Would I be right or no?
I think it's such a widespread. I mean,
Really?
in my own personal circle, I know, Neil from Ecigclick, he's mad on his desserts. I've got friends who are the same as me, who like sort of candy flavours. I've got friends who'll have tobacco, which is horrific. Friends who'll have menthol. I know people who'll only have fruit. So honestly, it's such a widespread. It really is. I'm even surprised people have tobacco, to be honest, because I think that's the most horrific flavour that was ever invented.
Yeah.
Tobacco on its own is never any good. I think a tobacco, let's just say white vanilla tobacco, or I've had a couple from this e-liquid company called Watson that I put in, my small pod systems. It's like a caramel tobacco. There's, very rarely has there ever been just a straight up tobacco that's been anything but horrendous. But yes, I think most of them, like banana tobacco, the first juice I ever felt, the one that helped me on my way to quitting smoking, was called Bubba's Bounty, and I want to say that was basically like a caramel tobacco, and after that it was banana tobacco. And I think tobacco was, that's what I went looking for when I started vaping, and after a while I realized, well, this isn't tobacco. This is much better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The reason I assumed that is because I always assumed that, like, the UK generated that whole group out there of vapors were more mouth to lung vapors. And
50-50, I would say.
Yeah, and I felt like that would be more of your dessert flavor type. Because, like, even when I watch Todd in the Shed, and Todd's always, even if he's vaping something, it's always some sort of a dessert, a cake, a custard, some sort of dessert flavored, and it's always used. Well, he's pretty much basically mouth to lung guys, and I always assumed that was the chosen device that was over there.
Is Todd the Scotsman, or that's no? I know Vic is the Scotsman. Yeah,
Vic.
Todd.
I think it's really spread, really. I mean, mouth to lung is more popular because obviously we can get the nicotine salts and we get the stronger stronger nicotine from those, because in the UK, if you have nicotine, you can only buy 10ml bottles. If it hasn't got nicotine, say if you want for your direct to lung kits, you can buy big bottles, but they've got no nicotine in. You have to add that. So people who use mouth to lung tend to use the smaller bottles.
Yeah.
Well, we all know.
Go ahead.
We all know that the British palate is so refined here, which is why they boil all their food.
It's all roast beef and crisps are our favourite flavours.
I've been looking for like crumpet in an 18 milligram packet.
Fish and chips.
Yeah, but your national dish is
Wellington, please bring it back in 50.
Ooh.
We'll have curry and roast beef flavour vapes, please.
One of my favorite Twitter accounts is Very British Problems, and I apologize for nothing.
Another fun question for you, Michelle. What is the one band or musician you would love to party with, dead or alive?
Oh, now that's a difficult one. Do you know what? You've actually blown my mind there. I'm stuck on that one. Could we come back to that one?
Yeah, we can come back to it. We can come back to it.
Blown my mind a little bit.
I would go with the Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead.
I know who it is now. I know who it is. It's Depeche Mode. I just think they don't.
Nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Depeche Mode, good answer. Grateful Dead, you have to pick like a decade in which you would like to get together with them, because up until 96, let's just say when Jerry passed, they were trying to play in the early and mid 90s. If Deirdre were here, she would high five you, and then she would say, well, in the 70s and 60s, I mean, you got Viola Lee Blues. That was, I think, 67. I don't know. Anyway, let's just say that, please continue. Where was I?
Grateful Dead concert, 1984, I think, or 85 here in California. To get from my car to actually giving my ticket, I was offered every kind of thing you could imagine for my skateboard.
Did you eat the kind grilled cheese, John?
No, I learned right away, do not inhale anything in a balloon. Do not smoke anything anyone hands you. Basically, stick to your own stuff before.
Did not know about the balloon.
Great concert. And it was probably one of the only concerts that I actually didn't get drunk or didn't get high. I wanted to really feel it and be part of it and not be so effed up that I didn't remember a damn thing about it. So I kind of just wanted to take it in. So it was like one of the first concerts where I just went sober, just wanted to enjoy it and take it in. And it's not a good idea. not for one of their concerts. Phillip, you're up, buddy.
The first time I went to a Grateful Dead concert, I was in the middle of it trying to get to the bathroom, and there was a just massive crowd, elbow to elbow, and I accidentally bumped into the woman who was just in front of me, and I said, "I'm sorry," and she turned around and said, "That's okay. You're probably in more of a hurry than I am."
Like that too.
Like that.
Yeah. And she was seeing like 4 of you at the time. No, they were very happy people. They were very happy people. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I did not at one time feel like I was scared to be there, or I would have felt comfortable going down into the mosh pit and I felt like I would have gotten hurt. How's that? At a Grateful Dead, like compared to Metallica, say Guns N' Roses or one of those bands. Yeah, I learned my lesson real quick about being in a Metallica concert and going into the pit at 17 and getting killed. No, I will pass on that.
See, when I was old enough to go to these concerts, people were very nice at the shows. After and before the shows, let's just say that the first fight that I was ever in, I didn't start it, I finished it. It was all over me telling two just wasted old, extraordinarily privileged deadheads to pick a fucking song. I don't care if it's Boxer Rain or Terrapin Station. Just play something, asshole. Well, that didn't go over well.
Yeah.
ouch, that was painful. But let's just say that I really enjoyed seeing the Jerry Garcia band. The Grateful Dead shows that I saw were they were on their way to being unable to play. And no, I was sober as a church bell for all of them. I wish I had avoided the nitrous balloon. That would have been prudent. That was not. I can't talk about that. So anyhow, moving on. Anyway, yeah, I think that would be an interesting part. I think Deirdre, in no romantic way, she spent time with Bob Weir. Yeah, I mean, she'd been following him for so long. I think she gave him like a shoulder rub, just a shoulder rub. That was that. And yeah, he's a really nice guy. His shorts were awful short, and that's that.
Yeah. We wear short shorts.
No, I think she's probably seen, I don't know how many thousands.
Yeah. Michelle, what are you guys working on there at the NNA? Anything coming up for you guys there?
Nothing at the moment that I know of. I think it's mainly going to be COP10, which is the horrible word, because everybody's scared about that right now.
Yeah.
And we've put out like a call to action and just trying to get everybody to write to their MP. You know, we've even there's a website you can go to, type in your postcode, it'll tell you who your MP is, and they'll even help you write a letter. And we're just encouraging people to do that, really, just to get it known, just to tell them that, you know, how vaping's helped you, how you're scared that it could be taken away from you and it might drive you back to smoking, and how your health's improved. All those sort of stories will really help, I think.
Yeah. And how do you
is there
feel
any indication
about...
who the... I'm sorry. Is there any indication who the delegates will be from the UK?
Not at the moment, because I was talking to Martin Cullip about this. He's my go-to man on COP, because it blew my mind. I couldn't understand any of it. And Martin Cullip, I've got to praise him. He's got me to understand it. He knows all the insides and outsides of it. And I asked him the other day, and he said, no, nothing heard yet. So I don't know if they'll be announced publicly or whether they'll just go and we'll find out later. I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Philip.
No, I was going to say that's actually, it brings me to a good point. There are a lot of us Yanks that don't understand what's going to be happening in Panama here. Is there any quick and painless way for you to explain a little bit more about what's happening in Panama COP10? And then Martin is a tremendous resource for all those things. But do you think you could go into that just a little bit for all the people who are listening and or watching?
Yeah, it's run by the World Health Organization, who are big friends with our mate Bloomberg. They're trying to bring in regulation. They're trying to control tobacco strongly, but they're also starting to grab at vaping and other things like snus and pouches. So they're trying to drag all that in as well. And basically, all the countries who go, they have to all agree for it to be banned. If they don't all agree, if they can't get a consensus vote, then it'll get rolled over again. So that's what we need. We need as many countries to stand up and say, no, we're not backing you banning it. We're not backing your proposals. Even if only a few countries stand up and say, no, we're not going down that, then they can't ratify it. They can't. It's not a consensus vote. So it's just trying to get as many countries. I think Martin said Canada, Philippines have been good, New Zealand, Sweden are very good, but they don't really cover snus as much. So far, we're hoping that those, along with the UK, and I wrote to my MP last week, and I've had a letter back from her saying that they are looking to ban disposable vapes in the UK, but they still believe that going to COP, the delegates are going to stick up for vaping. So it's just a case of everything crossed, because if the FCTC say, you know, how tightly they're going to regulate vapes, they could stop us having flavours, stop us having open systems. If they get no disagreement, it'll just go through and we'll all have to do it.
Thank you for that. It is a very... No, it is terrifying the way that it's set up and the lack of any, consumer input, or rather it's barred from being, I believe anyone who has any affiliation with the tobacco or vaping industry is barred from speaking their mind at these, hush hush. So it's a little bit, yes, it is.
And it's all closed doors. I mean, I think you can see like the opening and the closing speeches, but then the centre part where all the business goes on, they kick everybody out, they shut down the live streams. It's just closed doors, and I just think it's so wrong.
Wrong is a polite way to put it, I think.
Yeah,
Please
in those situations, though, do you, as the general public, know who's representing either side when they're no, not even that, huh?
I mean, a lot of people
I
aren't
don't
even
like-
aware of it. I mean, I only knew about it I think COP9 was the first I sort of knew about it. And then this year, because I've had to write about it, I've had to sort of understand it. And it's only down to Martin that I understand it. But anybody I speak to, most people don't even know. Not heard of it.
I don't like that. I don't like that
And I
one
mean,
bit.
So there is a chance that certain countries like New Zealand or at the EU delegation, the Swedish delegation, the Norwegian delegation can stand up and they can ask the right questions and they can dissent. It used to be the Canadians were like onside and good, and then now it's pretty muddled, even though their Minister of Health has been saying super good things recently. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I remember the COP, it was a COP 8, it was in Geneva, and a big shout out to INCO here. I'll give to all my friends at INCO and all the member organizations of INCO. That, of course, INCO had applied to have observer status, and there was a live feed from the floor. And at exactly the moment in time when the decision about whether to allow INCO to have observer status, which we all knew what the result would be, when that came up, the live feed cut out. And I've always wondered if that was like somebody pulled the plug.
It's funny. I don't know if I repressed that or if I legitimately forgot, but I remember. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Imagine that happening here.
This would be like having
Watching
a conference
C-SPAN.
on like HIV/AIDS and not listening to the voices of people who are HIV positive. It's
Or not even medical professionals. They wouldn't even
ethically horrifying.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let people in who treat them or people who design the drugs. They wouldn't even let them in. It'd just be some pen pushers.
Wow.
If you have to do that at a conference,
a lot of the delegates are just apparatchiks from their Ministry of Health and who really don't know a damn thing about the field. And I remember also in Geneva that on all the coffee breaks, there were dozens of delegates outside smoking cigarettes. It's so much hypocrisy, particularly when you understand 50% of all the tobacco, like combustible tobacco, is coming out of state-owned tobacco companies, like the China Tobacco Company. And they're all those governments and their delegates are welcome at COP 10, I should say. It's so much hypocrisy. You just kind of, it's unbelievable.
If you're having a conference specifically about the state of smoking and tobacco use around the world, and you literally have to bar and silence critics and advocates for safer nicotine alternatives, doesn't that say a little bit something about your little conference, or rather a lot about your little conference? I mean, I don't know exactly how to frame it, but if you really need to keep any dissenting voices out of that forum, well, I hate to say it, you've already shown your hand, and it's an absurd state of affairs. It really is. But yes, I look forward to hearing more from Martin, because he is really very, very well versed in all of that. And there's Jeff, good man. Anyway, thank you for that explanation. I think there are a lot of us here in America who really don't understand the gravity of this this conference and exactly how it's been happening for a long time. But how disingenuous the whole format is in many ways. And well,
do you send delegates? Does the USA send any delegates? I can't remember now.
Oh, please! I hope they didn't.
Not that I'm aware of.
The USA is not. We're not a signatory to the FCTC, but we send delegates anyway because we're states and we can do whatever we want. And so how that works, frankly.
Easy. I'm going to put you
I'm slamming
on
my
spot
own.
here. Yeah,
I apologize on behalf of my people. Continue.
Hey, my family didn't come here until the 50s, so I've kind of put you on a spot here, and this is for your article with Charles. Was there one thing you would have wanted to ask Charles in that interview that you would like to ask him now?
I know this sounds really silly,
My
and
favorite color.
It's nothing to do with vaping. I love knowing what cars people drive. So what car have you got, Charles?
Nice.
Look at him.
I live in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
No, I live
right
in Brooklyn, New York, and I came here 7 years ago, and that's the longest period of time I have ever lived without a car since I was 16. Yeah, I had a car when I was 16, a slightly privileged kid. And so, no car. You take a subway here, or you take an Uber.
Yeah.
My car from the subway system in New York still works. Yeah. It was there not too long ago. Bravo.
I have to drive to a railway station. I haven't even got a railway station near me.
Yeah. I hear the traffic isn't so great there either in the UK. Yeah. Well, I got you all beat. I live in California, and we have the worst traffic in the world here in California. So San Francisco is on a normal day without any traffic, an hour and 45 minutes. On rush hour, it is 4 hours and 5 minutes of your life in the car one way, 4 hours and 5 minutes on the way back. 8 hours of your day is in the car.
I have to say, Atlanta is giving you a run for your money there.
Yeah, Atlanta's bad too.
Let's just assume that the lanes, the right and left, the steering wheel is all on the same side of the car for a moment. Michelle, which metropolitan area is worse traffic wise, Paris or London?
London.
I've never been abroad, so I wouldn't know.
See, I've never driven in London. I've driven in Paris, and whoo, that was a really bad idea.
I've driven in Birmingham once, so I would imagine London's about 20 times worse than that, and it horrified me. So
yeah, they make it look so good. They make it look so nice on TV and movies, like everyone's just going about their day. But the truth is that everyone's just gridlock. It's gridlock.
See, I'm quite rural. I'm sort of semi-rural where I am. We've got a small town centre, and we get sort of flashpoints, but in general, it's quite good to drive around here. So I couldn't live in a big city. I'd struggle with that.
Yeah.
Birmingham, England can get rough. Birmingham, Alabama, I have my moments of road rage. Anyhow, let's just say that I had to move. I lived in Atlanta for all of a year, had a great time, had to move back because of the 285 bypass. Bloody, I mean, really, I had to leave. So let's just say, I have to stay until it gets too bad to where I'm going to, commit a homicide. So, but anyway, Paris was interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't drive.
I'm kind
I
of
spent-
curious how you're going to answer this
5
question.
years.
Go ahead, Paul. Go
I
ahead,
spent
Charles.
5
Go
years driving in New Delhi.
ahead. Ooh,
Spent 5 years driving in New Delhi, so driving
yeah.
on the
But
left
don't they?
side of the road.
Yeah, but don't they go like 100 miles an hour everywhere there?
Charles was like,
just
I
don't-
was on the left
they
side of the
don't
road
stay
in
in
New
the
Delhi
lane.
with malaria. We can't compete with that, Charles.
So a friend
They
of
had
mine
checkpoints.
asked the Indian, like, why don't you stay in the lanes? And the answer was, that's just something left by the British.
Yeah, left by the British. I'm kind of curious to see how you answer this one, Michelle.
Okay.
If you got an hour alone in the White House all by yourself, what would you do?
In the where, sorry?
Yeah, if you got an hour all alone in the White House, what would you
Oh,
do?
yeah.
All by yourself in the White House, what would you do?
It'd probably be something nasty to Trump if I could get him in there. I'd probably set fire to his hair or
He's not
something.
there.
Can I say that?
He's not there yet. She's still going to try to find a way to keep him out.
Sorry, I just don't like him. I don't know if any of you support him, but we just think he's a bit of an arsehole in the UK.
That's great. He's not even in there, but she's going to find a way.
I like that answer. I like that very much.
And this one should be interesting because you're in the UK. If you could put any franchise restaurant in your house, what would it be?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah. You got breakfast, lunch, and dinner covered. You
Well,
got
I've
it
gone
covered.
vegetarian now, so I've gone off my McDonald's. But when I was a meat eater, I was mad for a McDonald's. I'd love a sausage McMuffin and a nice Big Mac.
Yeah. And I think your guys' McDonald's actually sells beer, right?
No,
Oh, no. Italy does. Italy has
Oh, is it?
beer.
Did they?
Yeah. I
Germany.
was
It's
like,
rose enough as it is.
Every so often you get that. You'll order a Big Mac somewhere, usually in Europe, I think, from what I hear, but you'll get that perfect Big Mac. It'll look exact. The proportions are right. The sauce is just, so everything, the patties are, everything is perfect.
it's perfect.
And of course, you'll think, well, I enjoyed that very much. And you'll come back to the United States and things, it doesn't quite work out the same way.
Looks
But
like it's been run over by a car, does it? A lot of ours look like they've been run over by a car.
I will be honestly say, I get my son that day. I understood why he got tired of eating Italian food after 3 days in Rome and he wanted American food. I got it. But
Poor
when
kid.
how on earth he saw those golden arches in Rome, the last place I thought would be a McDonald's. He's like, Dad, I gotta have a Big Mac. No more panini sandwiches. No more bowls of pasta. I don't want meatball. I don't want none of it. I want a friggin' Big Mac.
I like this kid, a little chutzpah. I like that.
Yeah. And I ate that Big Mac, and you're right. I swear to God, it was like I was back in Modesto. It tasted exactly the same ingredients, the same flavors, the same bun. I was like, how are they doing this? How's McDonald's doing this? The only difference is I could get a 32-ounce beer there. That was the only difference.
Well, that's a big difference, John.
But that's
it is.
isn't that luring teens into a lifetime of the horrors of alcohol addiction?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you want a Coors, you want a Coors or a Peroni? You want a Peroni with that beer?
Yeah, ban McDonald's. Youth uptake.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of get your take a little bit about the disposables there in the last couple of weeks here, and how you were dealing with it, and what kind of response did you feel you were getting from the consumer on disposables there? Do you feel that there's a 50-50 people that are actually not throwing them on the ground? I mean, how did you go about? How did you feel about that whole thing?
It's a really odd situation because I'll lay it down. I support disposables. I think they have their place. I always say that when you smoke, you either choose roll-up cigarettes where you buy tobacco, you buy papers, you buy filters, or you buy pre-made cigarettes. And I think it's the same market with vapes. You either buy one that you fill up yourself, or you buy one ready-made. So I know, like, for instance, my late mom, she would have used disposables. She couldn't get on with filling tanks. So I do believe they have their place, but somehow they're getting into the hands of kids. I go for a dog walk, they're everywhere, they're all over the floor. And we don't live in a big city, so I don't know what it'd be like. There's a lot of initiatives to try and get people to recycle them. I think they're coming soon, but not many councils are offering it. It's often a private service. So yeah, and also they're getting in the hands of kids somehow. I mean, if they're sold in a normal shop, they'd be age checked and not served. But somehow they're getting into kids' hands, and we just don't know how. The people that should be dealing with this.
Michelle, the last time I was in London, straight across the street from my hotel was a shop that said it was a vape shop. And so I walked across with my friend and we tried to see what they had. It was wall to wall candy, not vape stuff, candy, children's candy. And then in one small corner was a little kiosk with a bunch of crappy. And I was like, my God, like people we have a nonprofit thing here called Parents Against Vape. Their heads would explode if they saw that. And I'm thinking, that's probably a problem. And those kind of shops, you would never see that in the United States.
It's hard to balance, really, because there's the argument that wherever you can buy cigarettes, you should be able to buy a vape. If you can catch somebody going in and saying, I'm going to go and buy 20 cigarettes, I might try one of them disposables. But they're for sale in a lot of your little corner shops that aren't always regulated properly. So I don't know what the answer is.
Right.
Yeah. Do you feel that there was any push at all to go after the businesses themselves, or is the convenience shops as powerful as they are here with lobbyists helping them to make sure that's not something that gets done? You know where I'm going with that?
Well, the regulation here is taken care of by trading standards. They're the agency that should be overseeing. They've always overlooked, underage alcohol sales, underage tobacco sales. Now they're massively underfunded, massively understaffed. So they're not, like you said, they're going for the big guys who selling the rip-off stuff. They're not really interested in one little shop selling one vape to a 15-year-old. That they haven't got the resources to deal with that. They're mainly tackling fake ones or illegal ones, over 2 mil. Their time is taken by that. I think it was Ash, one of the organisations, were talking about putting a tax on disposable vapes, which I think the rate was too high. But even a small tax would mean that I'm trying to name the people who deal with the tax, customs and excise. They would then have some jurisdiction, and they would be able to pull people up if they weren't selling them
properly.
So
why is no one proposing a deposit?
Because there's no infrastructure.
A £5 deposit or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's very little infrastructure. I mean, some councils will take vapes and take them from your doorstep bin collection. A lot of vape shops will take them back. Some even offer you an incentive. But again, I don't live near a vape shop. What would I do? I mean, I'm lucky my council collects them, but a lot of people just chuck them in the bin. But if you're out and about when the kids have got them, they're just leaving them on the grass everywhere. And it's a shame because they have a part in helping people stop smoking, but they're being a bit abused, I think.
Yeah. I mean, have they been? I mean, I'm assuming they've been looking into the black market, because I'm going to assume that, I can't put a number on it, but I'm sure that a majority of those kids that do have one got them illegally from a buddy, someone off the street. I don't know how big social media is there as far as getting those types of things to underage kids, like it is here, where you can go on, Twitter, and you can not Twitter so much, but Instagram and some of the Snapchat, and get your stuff. I mean, has there even been a look into the black market? Because I hear from other people that live there that black market there is almost worse than the one we have here.
But they're getting them somehow. Now, most shops would lose their license and they must sell a lot of tobacco. That's a big loss to them if they lose their license.
Right.
They will age check. So I don't know where they're getting them from. Might be dodgy shops. It might be things like market stalls. It might be buying over the internet, but they're getting them somehow.
Yeah.
And they're getting them in large quantities. And I mean, most of my friends who see I vape, if they've got kids, they're like, oh, these disposables are terrible. All these kids vaping, and I hate seeing it. And it breaks my heart a little bit because I know what good they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. And you mentioned, I think, I don't know if you said my mother, actually the most successful. I've been giving her different devices, different setups for years now. The most successful device I've ever given her was a disposable, actually, Lost Vape, Lost Mary, made by Elf Bar. But let's just say I've given her recently things that pre-filled pods, tobacco, rich tobacco, golden tobacco, menthol, and I won't even get into the whole idea of banning menthol, because to me menthol is, menthol was much harsher than regular Marlboro Reds to me. I don't understand the mindset behind that. But would you say that? I mean, I know that the low entrance, the low cost, the enormous profit margins on these, I guess it's probably entirely too hard to resist for a lot of people who are making these things, and the ones that are worth buying. Like Jim McDonald and Vaping 360, and I imagine you too you're trying to, let people know, these are the ones worth buying. These are the ones you should stick with. Don't fuck with anything that is sort of, looks like the same thing. Trust me, it's not. And, in the places where things have been banned, for example, the only counterfeit / possibly just second or third hand, or I guess you could call it a B stock vape, was a Flume Pebble that I bought in the San Diego, California area right after they closed down all the vape shops. So what I'm thinking is maybe going with more prohibition isn't the answer. I don't know, and I do think that absolutely there's a place for these, and it's not advisable to sell them right next to your chocolates and whatever assorted candies in the candy shop. I guess that's it's funny how you do the most absurd thing once and the media will be all over it. The UK will be known as the candy vape capital of the world. They won't, and of course they won't even. That will be all the media wants to talk about, but they won't say anything about what vaping and tobacco harm reduction has done for the population that smokes in the United Kingdom. It's just the trivial things that actually don't really matter that much are getting a whole lot of press recently, and I'm doing my best to try and decide what is and what is not worth talking about, whether it be on social media or anywhere else, because sometimes you do find yourself becoming frustrated by some anti harm reduction messaging that comes from a source that is of really no consequence at all. So that's, I guess I'm trying to behave, so to speak.
Well, what's funny is I would love to see someone do this poll and come up with these numbers, but I would be surprised that the number isn't extremely high. Just that one person that walked into that convenience store that day, that stood in line and just said what you said earlier, maybe I'll give this a try, and if it wasn't there at that time, they might have not have chosen to do that, because, the likelihood of someone that isn't being, pressured daily, which we all were. I'm sure all of us grew up with, I had my son started the first day after kindergarten. He got back home from school and he said, my teacher says you need to stop smoking. And I looked at him, I said, well, you tell your teacher to worry about your math, English, social studies, and all that other stuff, and don't worry about what daddy does at home, because it's none of her business what daddy's doing at home. And
Expect us to believe that you said that without a single 4-letter of profanity, please. Come on.
Yeah, I was like, okay, really? And this is the same teacher. Like 2 weeks later, I was a bad person because I wasn't recycling my aluminum cans. I said, what are you guys talking about in class? Are you guys even learning anything? I go, you're worried about me smoking, and if I, God,
but you are a bad person, John.
I do recycle now. I recycle the shit. Yeah, I am bad. I am bad.
I'm a dreadful, wretched, evil
Michelle,
person.
what? I have a question. What percentage of the vapes that UK teens are using are already illicit? Like the kind of things that never should have come in through the ports in the first place because they're already illegal.
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot because we've got strict instructions. You can't have more than 20 milligram nicotine. They can't have more than 2 mil capacity. Some of the ones you see lying around are 50 milligram or, 5, 10 mil. So they are not coming from shops.
Nope.
Which is sort of a travesty in terms of the environmental impact, unfortunately. But yeah.
But my guess is that they are coming from shops. That because there are shops here, like the corner store is selling vapes, including disposables in the United States where I live, that are not legal and are flavored, and they're right there in the store. And so there's no enforcement of the stupid laws that we already have.
I think, though, they do a lot of test purchases in the UK.
Put a little spin on that.
Yeah.
A lot of test purchasing?
Yeah, so like trading standards.
Ghost clients.
Yeah. That's it. And they'll try and buy things. And I mean, some of the newspapers have been analysing disposable vapes. They've paid labs to check how much is in them. Even big brand ones. They brought up Elf Bar saying, oh, they've got 4 million. They should have 2. They're dangerous. They should be taken off the shelves. And all the supermarkets took them off the shelves.
Yeah.
So according to Ash UK, from 2020 to 2022, teen nicotine vaping increased by 3% in the UK, while teen smoking dropped 2%. And the difference is not statistically significant. So it's a clear little bit of product substitution going on. And that's being portrayed right now as a public health crisis. I have to believe it's a manufactured crisis, and I seriously suspect that Bloomberg money is involved in that. Comments?
I mean, as well, because a lot of these kids would, like you say, pick up cigarettes, so they're picking up vapes. And I think I did read a study where kids are experimenting with vapes, but if you went back on 6 weeks' time or 6 months' time, they'll have stopped. They're not taking it up regularly. They're sort of experimenting, trying it for a bit, and they're not taking it up regularly. So fingers crossed, it's just sort of a novelty thing. But like, I think
the baffling thing to me is that a 3% increase over a 2-year period is portrayed as a public health crisis. I don't understand that, but it's in all the newspapers in the UK. The United States was the epicenter of the misinfodemic, but it's shifted.
Yeah, I wonder. Okay, but of that 3% increase, is it a 3% increase in the children that are from higher incomes, or is it a lower number or higher number with children in? See, that's what I wanted, because that seems like to me. Now, don't get me wrong.
Wealthy families.
Don't get me wrong, but it always seems like when the higher class kids do wrong, the rest of society needs to be punished for what they're doing. So they don't look at it as the middle class and the lower class actually doing these things. but it is always seems to me that's why I always want to see that number. Okay, you show a 4% increase in teen vaping. Okay, where are these parents at? Because in the beginning, for me, I'm like, how the fuck does a kid buy a Juul? How does he even afford to pay that $54 up front to start out with, and then support a 2 Juul pack a day habit? And I'm like thinking to myself, the middle class kid, he wants a burger. He wants to eat tomorrow. He's not worried about getting his nicotine fix. He wants to have food for lunch. So to me, it seems like I would love to see that number, where it is. Where does the middle class end up in that 3%? Where's the lower class end up in that 3%? And how much of the upper class individual kids are actually the ones that are doing the wrong, the bad?
How often have you ever seen an anti-vaping person recommending that parents should cut their damn kids' allowance?
It was funny because the other day someone posted something the other day that made my mind just explode, because it was something I really didn't pay attention to. But the question was, what was minimum wage when you were a teenager? And when I put my number down and I started looking at the rest of the numbers, because mine was $2.75 when I was old enough to work. It was $2.75,
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these other numbers, everyone's kind of in that 250 because it's an older group, 325, 375. And then you start seeing, as the younger generation comes in, you start seeing, $7.50, $8, $10. So now we're I don't even know what here in California. I think it's they're trying to change it again. I think it's somewhere in the tens or somewhere right around there. But it kind of made me
in New York City
think.
it's 15.
15, yeah. That's
Bravo.
crazy.
I can't remember exactly, but let's say I think the first cigarettes I ever bought on my own, other than Satch, my mom, came from a vending machine that took 4 quarters.
Yep.
And it was Gus's.
Oh my gosh.
Mine was,
yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
75
Merit,
cents.
God bless him.
Yeah.
And
75 cents in a
we have
bowling
to-
machine.
We have to remember that in the United States, the federal legal age to purchase tobacco products was 16.
Yep.
Up until 1992.
And then it was 19, I think.
The federal state has slightly different ages. Every state had a different age, but the federal government increased it from 16 to 18 in 1992, and high school smoking skyrocketed immediately after that.
Yeah.
So I just think these people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. If we're talking current use,
for me, like when the first time I was old enough.
Yeah, that's current use.
Yeah,
the current use of my graduating class, I think we're talking somewhere around 47%.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I kid. I always, I laugh. I mean, I had a cigarette before I started class. In high school,
the national smoking for current use in high school in 1970s was about 25% if you average it, and then in the 1980s in the United States, high school 22%. In the 1990s, it was back up to 25%. So there's like 3 decades, zero progress. But by 2011, it had gone from 2001, where it was back to 22%. By 2011, so it's really just like a decade ago, it was down.
So where am I getting the 47% current from 1993? That was just the 12th grade survey, just once in the last
Oh yeah,
month.
There was a huge spike, and actually Clive Bates told me it had been due to grunge rock.
Leave Kurt Cobain alone. What's wrong with you people, man?
Damn Seattle people.
Caused that, yeah. High school hit 28%. But it depends on the survey. Like every survey is giving different numbers.
Yeah.
But it definitely spiked in the mid 90s, and then it dropped again.
I tend to blame
So,
Benson, Hedges, my mom.
thing is
Those
like-
3 people in that
Yeah.
order.
Yeah. I blame
teen nicotine
the
use in
priest.
United States
who I stole my first first
nicotine
cigarette
use
from.
is lower. It's lower today than it has been at
it's
any time
lower
in the past
today.
years.
I still want
I
to know.
still maintain
who's
that Billy
smoking.
Ocean is the reason
It's
I
a lot
started
lower.
smoking. It was
Billy
a horrible
Ocean.
time.
I blame Nancy Reagan.
She works.
Just say no.
Just say no, man. Just say no, baby. It worked. Let's go back
this
to
is
that
your brain
question.
on drugs.
What band or musician would you like to party with, Michelle, dead or alive?
I'm sorry, Michelle. I didn't mean to remind him.
Depeche Mode, I think it would be.
Oh, all right. That's right. You did say Depeche Mode. I
Yeah.
remember that.
I think it's because I fancy Martin Gore.
Yeah.
Were you ever a shoegaze fan? Slow Dive, My Bloody Valentine? No, not even like
No,
Ride or Stone
Dance
Roses.
music for me. Dance and electronica.
Okay, Electronica. So Depeche Mode, Smiths. Come on, you have to like.
Erasure, Pet Shop Boys, Yazoo. They
New
were all
Order. Okay. Love you anyway.
What obscure UK band that we would not know did you fancy?
what do you mean by fancy? Like Joy.
Didn't make mainstream.
Blimey. Portishead. There's not many people are into Portishead, but I quite like them.
Portishead. And Adorable. Sunshine Smile. What happened to them?
Oh yeah, they're great.
You know Portishead.
John, you have to understand, fancy to Michelle, it means like sexually attracted to.
Oh,
Right?
all right. So, I blame Austin Powers. Oh my God! I make you Randy.
I was going to say New Kids on
Portishead
the
is
Block.
British.
That's the question.
Oh, I blame Austin Powers.
Is British.
Sorry, John meant no offense. He was just giving his Cockney a try of taking it for a spin.
I can quote so many things from those movies, but I won't.
Stop now. It's going to end badly.
Okay, here we go.
Anita likes Portishead. Hello, Anita. You like them as well. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, you can say no. You can say no to this. I know you've watched this show, so here we go. The first song you remember learning all the words to as a teenager, and could you sing a few bars of it?
Oh. Okay, see if you can get this one. Hooray, hooray, it's Holly Holiday. No?
That was brilliant. Please
more,
continue.
a little more. Give us some more.
Boney M. Apparently, when I was little, we were on a bus and I'd heard it somewhere, and I sang it all the way home on this bus about 40 times. And I think there was people putting cheese in their ears and shopping bags over their heads by the end of the journey.
Yeah, I'm glad you sung it too. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys got a vaping question? Look at this. These are my two guys. Here we go. Here you go, Michelle. The first poster on your wall as a teenager. After this one, you can hit her with it. Your first poster you hung up on your wall as a teenager. What was it?
Bros.
I have no idea. You're gonna have to help us with that.
BROSSE.
You say
they
that
were like
American?
a teeny band. No, they were UK brand. They were. There was a pair of twins and another guy who was a drummer, and they were blonde twin guys, and they were lovely. I like Bros. Matt Goss has been in Vegas.
Oh wow.
He's done a residency in Vegas, so you might have heard of him. But it was him and his brother and another guy on the drums. I used to all wear. Do you know Grolsch bottles, the beer bottles with the pop-up lids? Do you have those?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
We used to wear them on our shoes because we were brosettes when I was young.
The beer bottle, those flip open beer bottle caps.
Yeah.
And they would make that. I imagine they would make a sort of they would slap together and make sort of a clapping sound.
That's it. And hurt your feet.
And so that would identify you as a Bros fan. I like this. I like that. Nicely done. I had a big Charlatans UK poster, and I apologize for nothing.
Michelle's never going to do another live show again after this one. Go ahead, Charles. You had a vaping question. Go ahead.
Yeah, but which? I have a real question, but the one that just popped into my head is: which of the people that you have interviewed do you fancy the most?
You do not need to answer that question. Damn it, we're gonna get in trouble here.
So where
she can't see your affect, Charles. She doesn't know that you're being funny.
They're all beautiful. They're all gorgeous.
Oh, she can't see.
There you go.
It's coming. I hope my tone of voice is coming through.
That's right. I forgot. You can't see us. I forgot. You can't see us.
I know. All
where
that
do
sarcasm.
you think that we will? Where do you think that we will be in 10 years? So imagine you could travel forward in time 10 years. What do you think this particular, like a little subfield of public health to most people, where do you think this little subfield is going to be 10 years in the future?
I reckon we'll have the tiniest little vapes that will go on a ring.
Oh, God.
I think there'll be more acceptable.
I mean, what's the World Health Organization going to be saying? What is Public Health England, which is now called the super ominously sounding Health Security Agency, right?
Right.
What are they going to be saying?
I tell you what, my mind is blown with it all because I thought we were going in the right direction. I thought the UK was pretty pro-vaping. Now it's all arguments. It's like everything in life now. There's sides pitted against each other. I'll tell you what I really think. I think we'll still be fighting in 10 years' time. There'll be pros and antis, and it'll still be as it is now. Nobody will make a firm decision.
I can't disagree with that. I would like to think that the arguments will be less convincing on the anti-harm reduction side because they're already pretty far out there. They are grasping at some pretty ridiculous arguments, and the people who are pushing those arguments are showing less and less, or excuse me, they're showing more and more how little they do care about people who are smoking and dying. It's really very simple. It's ideologically, it's horrifying how little they take into account, the millions around the world that are still waiting on them to change their mind, so to speak. And they're just, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore, which brings me to an important question. How long ago did you quit smoking, and what helped you quit, and how much were you smoking at that time?
Well, I started smoking, I think I was 15, and I was one of the later ones. I grew up in a house where we'd have relatives. There'd be 10 adults smoking, and I'd be 5.
In Birmingham?
Yeah, I was surrounded by smoking. So I started about 15. I tried. I was diagnosed with asthma, and I was given patches. I was allergic to them. I had Champix and Zyban and got a horrific side effects from those. I had to come off them. Inhalators, chewing gum, lozenges. And then I tried vaping in 2012, but you could only get tobacco flavour or menthol, and I didn't like either, so I gave up. And then I started again in 2016, and I gave up smoking early 2019, but then my mum died, so I started again. I've been dual using the vapes as well since 2016. And then about a month after my mum died in 2019, I quit completely then, and I've been vaping full time, basically.
Nice.
Bravo. Very sorry to hear about your mother, but bravo.
Yeah. That's the thing. Everyone's a little different. Like I said, some people can just put it down once and start vaping and be done with it, and some take a little bit of time. My question for you is, I have it right here somewhere, and this is one of Allie's questions, and she's not here to ask it for you tonight, so I am going to ask it for you. What is the best piece of advice you ever been given?
Regarding smoking or
Just life in general.
just life in general? Oh, blimey. No, that's a deep one, isn't it?
It's deep. It's Allison.
It doesn't have to be deep.
I tell you what, it's absolutely stumped me, that one has. I've just gone completely blank.
We'll roll back to it.
Yeah.
It is a deep question. It is a deep question. Yeah. Here, I'll hit you with an easy one. You ready? All right. Your favorite toy growing up, Michelle? What was Michelle's favorite toy? And I'm curious because UK toys, US toys, big difference. Big difference.
Engineering.
I hated dolls for a start. Everybody used to buy me dolls. I was a bit of a tomboy. I hated all though. My best things would have been things like roller skates and bikes. They were my favourite things. I want a keyboard, like musical keyboards. I used to like that.
Yes, the original Casio, like the synthesizer. I think third grade talent show, I played Chariots of Fire on a little Casio that like you could just play like this in the background. It was like dun, 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 dun. Anyhow, that was a great moment.
I got no instruments as a child. I got none. I don't know what it was.
After I like set the place ablaze and it was my chemistry set, they figured like keyboard. Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's funny. And like with all my grandchildren now, they get to a certain, like my oldest is 12 and I bought him a ukulele and he's like, I want this. And I said, look, I will buy you this, but you need to use it. I don't want to hear of that. It's just sitting under your bed. And, he told his mom said she wanted to give him lessons. And he said, no, I can learn everything I need to learn on YouTube. And I said, okay.
See, that's the instrument you play by the fire with the girl next to you. I don't know who asked that. That's the one, right?
That's what I said. I was like, I growing up and not learning any instruments, and then when we'd go out partying because out here I live out in the sticks, so a lot of the parties were out in the orchard. We'd have a little bonfire, and I always hated that guy that had the cardigan sweater and the guitar that knew how to play, and all the women, all the girls would just be sitting around him, and he would be strumming away, playing some Beatles song or Bon Jovi.
Yes, of course. Someone asked me this question. Was that you? No, that was not me.
That was you. You said you played, the other guy sung.
Yes, I did. But there was no fire. There were no, women just, fainting around us. This was, we were compelled to do this because, well, at least I enjoyed doing it. The rest of it, I didn't care. Well, I cared, but I was not paying attention. Yeah. Ukulele, on the other hand, that is, if you can do that well, that's impressive.
Yeah.
You have to commit though.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
You want to try that question?
The best advice.
Yeah, the best advice. Something your dad told you, mom told you, an aunt or uncle.
I've got a funny one, and it's a bit rude, but
go ahead. That's perfect for this show.
My sister recently, it was her 30th birthday. I don't think she'll like me telling you this, but she was very, very drunk and she blew her candles out and everybody asked her to make a speech. So she said, don't go to bed with an itchy bum because you'll wake up with a smelly finger. That's the best I can do. I'm sorry. Sorry, Claire. Sorry.
That's perfect advice.
I quite fancy that one. Well done. Well told.
That's great because that's one of the things I enjoy about Oktoberfest, which is coming up, is the speeches that you get to hear before every toast. And they're just and they're stories, really. They're not so much a speech, but everyone has these old, German stories that they want or phrases that they want to share before you take a chug, and just hearing them all, it's just
Yes,
great.
my favorite old stories happen to be old German stories, as everyone knows.
Well, you're not that, you know what I'm talking about. Bavarian. Let me change it. Bavarian. Does that make it better?
Yeah, I like that one. I like, bring out Prussian, whatever you want to say.
You know
But
what I'm
yeah, the
saying?
stories
But they're
told by
toast.
people, with a stein in one hand, and I don't know.
They're sayings more so as a story, right? They're like old, I don't know what you want to call it. Old toast, old English
I think
toast.
it's important that we stop trying to ban fun. That's probably where we can start. And then we can, be very specific about which parts of fun we don't want around anymore.
Yeah. I'm curious. I know of. I never asked anybody this question, but is vaping and smoking allowed in bars there? I've never really even asked anyone. No, so that you can't smoke or vape in a bar.
Smoking, definitely not. Usually have an area outside where you have to go to smoke and vape, but some pubs will let you vape. There's not many though, but some are quite open to it.
Does that have anything to do the TP? That's the tobacco. Excuse me, the Tobacco Products Directive. Is that what that stands for? I believe.
Yeah, the TPD,
which stipulates the 2 milligram tank capacity and all those things. That doesn't have anything to do with whether or not a pub allows vaping or anything like that, does it?
I don't think so. No, it was because they brought in the smoke-free indoors a few years back now, and but you always used to meet the best people outside in the smoking area. That's what we always used to find, but you were always cold.
So there's still smoking areas outside. They haven't banned those inside, no matter what, even if it's a private, quote, cigar bar or something, people cannot have those.
But like if you go to one of the expos, like I go to Vapor Expo, it's in a massive conference centre, and you can vape in there.
Can they smoke cigars in Parliament? No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
Probably do.
My understanding is that vaping in a pub is not illegal in the UK, but it's up to the establishment. It's up to the publican who runs the thing to decide whether she allows that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the impression.
Smoking's not allowed.
No, smoking's banned completely.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that's what I was concerned with, because vaping is allowed. It's legal there. So is smoking, but you can vape in a bar, but you can't smoke in a bar. I get that. I don't know.
But
here you have I have to go at least 15 feet from the door. So even at the bar, you cannot smoke right by the door of the establishment. You literally have to go to the sidewalk or away from the door so nobody smells it, or as they're walking into the bar, or the smell going into the bar. So
they're trying to do that now. There's talk about, outside establishments, because of people congregating, having a cigarette. I think they're talking about banning that. And things like beaches as well. They're trying to talk about banning it on beaches.
Oh,
vaping or smoking?
They did that here. They did that here. We're not allowed to smoke or vape on the beach here.
Wow.
And I was sitting on the beach. This was 2 years ago, and I didn't know. I didn't see the sign. The sign clearly said no smoking, but it said nothing about vaping. They've changed that now. So I got on the beach. I set my umbrella, got my beach chair out, my ice chest. I sat on my chair. I grabbed my vape. I'm sitting there vaping, and I can see him flying across the beach in an ATV, three-wheeler, blowing huge puffs of black smoke coming from his gas-powered fucking ATV to come all the way over there to tell me that I can't vape on the beach. And I'm like looking at him, and this thing is sitting there just and just blowing out black fucking smoke. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to kill people with this mango flavored ice vape, but it's okay that you're screaming up and down the beach in this ATV, puffs of black smoke coming everywhere. And he just goes, you need to go to, and this is how it works there. There's the beach, there's the boardwalk, there's the stores, the street, and then the sidewalk. You literally in Santa Cruz, California, you literally have to go to the street to
Oh,
vape.
no wonder.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, well, Santa Cruz is an exceptional place with some exceptionally. Yeah, it's the the idea that become so liberal, we become illiberal, and next thing you know, it's just the most absurd. Yes, that's an absurd thing for someone to go out of their way to make sure you're not vaping.
It's 20 feet in San Francisco in front of any public
Say
door.
what you want about Florida. At least there, I took that massive dual 21-700 Aegis out there on the beach, and with like, I don't know, one of these 80-watt cloud chuckers, and in the wind, with an umbrella. I was not blowing in anyone's face, but I was kind of sort of interested to see if anybody was going to say anything. Nothing. Zero.
Oh wow, it is in Hawaii, huh? Smoking and vaping are banned in Hawaii. I wonder how they're enforcing that on private beaches though that are part of the hotels. I wonder if they enforce that at all on those. It's crazy. Even at the ball game, they have this little. I'm not kidding you. It's 4 feet wide by 8 feet long, and it's up in the upper left field at the top, and it's just a little yellow line, and everyone has to be inside that yellow line to smoke or vape. And I'm like, I couldn't fit in there. So I'm kind of got half one leg in and one leg out. And this security guard just constantly ripping me to get back on the other side of the line. I'm like, is there like this magical line there? Is this magical wall blocking the vape and the smoke?
Doesn't pass this line.
Oh man,
Charles, you've been very instrumental in pointing this out. It's just the more they, basically, isolate and ostracize people who smoke and vape, the more it's very clear that just, these are the bad people. These are the people that we need to put them in the corner until there's no corner left.
Yeah.
And no, I don't feel the need. I've never felt the need to chuck huge clouds in anyone's face, or go to a Michelin 3-star restaurant and have a big old sub-ohm vape after my meal. But I do believe that people who smoke and vape, but people who smoke should still have that option, and I do believe that they should still have the respect to do it in a place where they're not bothering anyone else, and they shouldn't be herded into some air-locked, non-filtered, room where they all have to, sit in the smoke by themselves. I mean, it's a really horrible situation. And I don't think it's like Jacob Greer points out in his excellent books, people who smoke. I think everybody was okay when they said, okay, no smoking on flights. And unfortunately, it just was a very slippery slope from there. And I think it's terrible when I see people who smoke having to go into these little cubicles, by themselves. I mean, at the very least, and unfortunately, in a lot of places, they are not allowed to smoke outside. So it's just a terrible situation. And yeah, I do believe it's terribly stigmatizing. As Charles has.
I remember when airplanes still had smoking sections in the back, right? And that's because the airflow in an airplane is from front to back, so it's blowing the smoke out. And occasionally I would go back and have a cigarette. And so this must have been in the 90s. It must have been in the 1990s.
Yeah,
and
early 90s, L1011.
That's why I
One
met
more
this
time?
really nice stewardess.
Yeah.
That's why I met this really nice stewardess.
I think we all come from a generation where we sat at a Denny's and there was a guy that was smoking a cigarette while you were eating breakfast. And, it was just, it was just, I know it was horrible, especially when you're a kid. You're like, you're trying to eat your waffles and you're just like, what the hell? But then thank God neither one of my parents smoked or they didn't smoke cigarettes at all. So, but seemed like there was always someone that had a cigarette lit sitting in the ashtray while they were eating their eggs and you were eating your pancakes or waffles. So it was horrible.
A fair number of my best friends still, we bonded over a cigarette at some point. The problem is I kept smoking well into my late 20s and 30s.
Yeah, that's the one thing that hasn't changed. Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, it's just interesting to watch an older movie now. So film from the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s. And characters are smoking indoors, and it's like, what? It's so different. I remember my father would take me to the Elks Club. Does anybody know what that is?
Yeah, I was supposed to be a member,
The
and
Elks
I
Club
decided
the Friday night fish fry, and that room was so full of. And I'm just a teenager, just a kid. The room was so full of smoke. Things have changed.
Yeah.
I just
remember going.
I'm not convinced that secondhand smoke has any really significant harm. And then to extrapolate that harm, which may exist, to e-cigarette vapor, which evaporates, literally just evaporates in 20 seconds, is insane. It's utterly insane.
I still think one of the biggest hurdles that we face is that it looks like
there's a study showing that mice have problems from third-hand vapor. Right? Like the world has gone mad.
I just lost about 25 IQ points, guys. Sorry, I can't continue.
All right, guys, we're at the 2-hour mark, and it's extremely late for Michelle being in the UK. But I want to personally say thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that I saw that article you've written, Charles, and it drew me over to you. And I want to say thank you for joining. I want to thank Allison too. Allison, getting you to come on the show, I really appreciate it, and it was a pleasure interviewing you. And I'm going to give it to Phil here, and Phil do his thank yous.
I'm gonna come over to California and smack the shit out of you. Quit calling me Phil. God damn it!
It's gonna be hard. Give me a couple more years.
Come on, big man. You can do this.
I'm trying.
All right. My name is Philip, and I want to say, Charles, Michelle, thank you both for being here. You shed light on so many dark corners of this conversation. I really do appreciate it. Michelle, you are a wonderful individual. I know you can't see us, but the parts where you thought that we were a bit less than thoughtful tonight, we were just kidding.
Oh, it's all right. I thought it was funny.
But no, thank you so much for doing everything you do. And I look forward to reading more from you in your interview series. You've done some outstanding work. Thank you. And Charles, thank you for putting up with all of this on a daily basis and doing what you do.
Thanks, Charles, for jumping in there for Tim and Phil. And Michelle, thank you for Gordon Ramsay. I just want to say that. Thank you for Gordon Ramsay.
I love Gordon Ramsay. Hotel Hell. Is it Restaurant Hell? I love all those.
He's great TV.
I was about to say the same thing. Thank you for.
She was just so kind during this little interview process we had. You're a kind person, Michelle. That's nice.
It's actually very obvious talking to you. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And we hope you come back, and hopefully we get the video portion of it to work for you in your end. I'm going to actually email StreamYard after the show and try to figure out what's causing that. I don't know. I've never had that come up, and we have done people from Australia. I've had people from the UK on, so I'm not sure why you can see yourself, but you can't see us three, but we can see you. So it's just weird. It's very weird.
I'm just taking a screenshot as well, so I can send you that.
Yes, that would be awesome. Yeah, send that to I'll send you my well, I'm on Twitter too as well. So is Philip and well, of course, everybody knows.
Thank you for the follow, by the way. It's only taken you 5 years. Thank you. That was very good of you. And just very grateful. And once again, thank you. Anytime you want to lay some, truly, semi verboten British tasteless jokes on us, please. More.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes. We will not mention
British
anything.
Pardon?
Charles said British love to tell jokes.
They're not probably very funny, but we still laugh.
All right, guys, everybody, again, real quick, if you need to find anything that Michelle is involved in, any of the websites, Twitter, the NNA, and Ecigclicks, Ecigclicks. You can find them all in the header. Give Michelle a follow. Go read some of those articles that she's written. And we hope to have you back soon, Michelle. Thank you again.
Thank you all for making me welcome, and it's been a good laugh. So thank you very much.
Yes. Well, all right, guys, we are out of here. We will see everybody next week. Not sure who our guest is, but I'll let you know on Twitter. Peace out. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.